Watch the Commanders reach the agreement with Stefon Diggs, to bring some much-needed help to the receiving group for the Washington Commanders. I like Jaden Daniels to Stefon Diggs. What Stefon Diggs is going to do for Jaden Daniels is going to increase the value of who Jaden Daniels is as a quarterback. He's going to be that much better of a quarterback, being that Stefon Diggs can work the middle of the field and have that better veteran presence along with Terry McLaurin. Oh, man, I like what Washington Commanders are building over there. Now, obviously, you have to use Stefon Diggs in the correct manner. But Stefon Diggs, from my understanding, it takes an ACL injury a full season for players to get back to 100%. Diggs was playing for the Patriots, I would say around 90% last season, because he was just coming off of ACL surgery, and he was still a playmaker. He played all 17 games last season. That's impressive coming off an injury of that magnitude. So this season with the Commanders, expect him to be 100% full throttle. He might be a step faster than he was last season, and he's probably going to have a ton of more confidence, along with just everything flowing naturally back to when he felt like, back in his prime days and things like that. But, ACL injury, let me tell you, a lot of people come back stronger, faster, and a much better player. Not later in their career, obviously, but Stefon Diggs, I was surprised of how he handled himself and how he came back last season for the Patriots, and he did a hell of a job. Now, Brandon Aiyuk, on the other hand, man, he was on the Commanders' radar. Now, I think they really was interested in bringing him in, being that Jaden Daniels and Brandon Aiyuk already had some camaraderie together and, some chemistry. Some chemistry, being that they played at Arizona State together. Boy, that guy cost himself a lot of money. One day when football is all said and done and Brandon Aiyuk's career is officially over, he will regret how he handled this situation. I'm telling you, man. That was a horrible interviewing process he went through this offseason, because that's what we're continuously in. Everybody is watching us, whether we have a contract or not. And obviously, if you're a disgruntled player and you don't want to be with a team anymore, you are being interviewed every minute of the day. Teams are watching you. They want to understand the type of player you are. Should they invest money into this player? Can they trust this player with money? And Brandon Aiyuk showed that he can't be trusted when it comes to the money category, because now this player becomes uncontrollable. That was a horrible interviewing process this man went through, and right now it's looking like Brandon Aiyuk is going to end up being a shoe-in for some possible team. The team has to be extremely desperate to make a trade for Brandon Aiyuk at this point, but he probably would be a better threat, a more valued threat than Stefon Diggs. But hey, Stefon Diggs is there to get the job done. You got to use those two wide receivers. How they fit best into the system, I guess. So we'll see. Brandon Aiyuk, man, that's a disappointing guy right there. But don't get it twisted. He may have a point. Brandon Aiyuk may have a point not wanting to deal with the San Francisco 49ers training staff, because he doesn't trust him. After hearing how the 49ers handled or are handling Ricky Pearsall's injury, Brandon Aiyuk may have a point. Ricky Pearsall went down with a PCL injury in September and rushed back on the field just like all the teams do. He was rushed back on the football field, and that didn't go well. Now Ricky Pearsall is out for the 2026 season. After going through the full offseason with no surgeries, no updates of is he getting better or getting worse, we're going to start training camp and hope he's ready to go. Find out he's not. He won't be playing 2026 injury. He's on IR. and now he needs to undergo surgery when he could have just went through surgery this offseason. So Brandon Aiyuk understood what was going on for the team in the training room and them pressuring players to get back on the field. Now the Commanders, okay, did they make the right decision? That's an obvious answer, yes, to sign Stefon Diggs instead of going after Brandon Aiyuk. So yes, I'm sure they did their due diligence. They waited to the right moment. Obviously, they waited until training camp. Excuse me. They waited till training camp began to finally ink a deal with Stefon Diggs because Stefon Diggs is, that type of player going into his career is developed into, that lane basically. And you could be a good teammate, man. You could be a good teammate, but it's just hard for a team to trust a player that is showing his ass the way Brandon Aiyuk is and jeopardizes his entire team. That's just crazy. That's some crazy work. But Stefon Diggs, let me tell you one thing about Stefon Diggs. He understands he has to earn his keep to prolong his NFL career. And he's going to go out there and be the dog that he always is and always was. All the drama, all the flamboyantness, all the me stuff, I'm sure that is gone now. Now it's time for survival. I'm trying to survive and prolong my NFL career. I see that I'm 1 foot out the door and I need to make the best of every situation. So that would be my support to sign Stefon Diggs if I was in the building. That's why you go get that young man. What are y'all thinking in the chat? Is that a good was that a good signing for the Washington Commanders? Stefon Diggs, who else was out there? They need somebody on the other side of Terry McLaurin. And Stefon Diggs, Brandon Aiyuk probably were the two best prospects available.